Well, hello, it's very lovely to be here, so thank you for the invite. I'm Alys Hargreaves. I'm currently studying Architecture Masters at Central St Martin's.
And I'm Felix Sagar, and I'm a training architect. We're members of Cella Collective. There's 7 of us, including Millie Green, who's sitting over there. And we all met studying architecture, and our work explores the relationship between landscapes, materials, and people through building, teaching, and writing. And we're interested in interbeing and interconnected ecologies. We work on a range of different projects, including material research in the Shetland Islands, educational workshops, furniture, and more recently we completed 2 midsummer pavilions based on Celtic folklore. But a large part of our work has involved facilitating workshops, which explore making processes, including earth construction. So today we're going to talk about earth inside London and our experience teaching earth construction to young people. And we hope to explain some of the challenges we faced working with earth in London and talk through our attempts to make the topic more accessible.
So we've kind of summarised it into 3 points, which we extrapolated from teaching the summer schools. Alien Earth, so that's addressing earth aversion. Accessible Earth, highlighting different pathways or how you might kind of begin to explore it. And Collaborative Earth, lessons and learnings from these workshops. Studying architecture, we noticed that the world of earth construction in the UK was quite niche. At the time, the skills were not taught in most universities, and most workshop technicians didn't seem to have the knowledge. So obviously accessing earth and construction knowledge was quite difficult for young people. Workshops were either too costly or too far away or inaccessible by public transport. We were approached by STORE projects, so they're a community organisation who work to engage young people from state schools in architecture and design. In response, we thought, why not try and run some earth construction summer schools for young people in Hackney and Camden? It enabled us to test these ideas of how you might begin to think about decarbonising construction in a London context. So in 2022, we ran Conversations in Cob, and then the following year, last year, we ran Squeezy City.
So Conversations in Cob explored natural building methods to design a community space for Hackney, or to imagine one. And it was formed through a series of workshops. A collaborative build was the result of conversations, local stories, experimenting with local natural materials. The school finished with a public show in the park, which included Hackney earth blocks, 1 to 50 models, and 1-to-1 Cob details.
In Squeezy City, we explored earth inside London through the process of extrusion. So food and clay were our materials. So using these locally sourced materials and ingredients, students experimented with corking guns as mini extruders, and then this evolved into a kind of 1-to-1 architecture ceramics, which we 3D printed and laser cut to extrude the churros stand, which was the final event. So it was a churros stand in the Coal Drops Yard Market at King's Cross. Both schools revealed interesting relationships between earth and young people and left us with lots to think about.
So, Alien Earth, addressing earth aversion. During the process of both summer schools, we noticed an initial aversion to earth across age groups and disciplines. The material was either alien, too dirty, or a hassle to manage for people. Finding earth, placing it, and using it within the city presented a range of unfamiliar hurdles to jump. Firstly, earth in London was quite hard to find. There's a large expanse of impervious tarmac, paving stones, and the like, which separate us visually and physically from what is below. Digging is going on, but it's usually reserved to the spaces behind hoardings. Through poking our noses into construction sites and asking lots of questions, we found our material source, construction waste. Site teams were kind of very willing to kind of give us bags of clay and earth when we asked, because otherwise it would be going to landfill. This approach had 2 benefits. Firstly, we could get all the material for free. And secondly, the earth was local, which was fundamental in linking the students with their material landscapes, their homes.
So people were very willing to give us earth, but less willing to take it or store it. So in the first summer school, we really struggled to find a site where we could build for 2 weeks and create this very earthy mess. So this point of the process really revealed the bureaucracy in simply moving mud and playing with it somewhere in London. After haggling on a long email thread with Hackney Council, park managers, wardens, and ecologists, they agreed to let us use a section of Clissold Park. Working in the park was a game changer, and we were glad we ended up there. The weather played a big part in each day, and one massive downpour soaked us all, bringing the group much closer together. There was something great about building together on the grass, committing to the weather and the mud and spending every day outside. It was a rare experience for us and probably the students too. What was clear was that access to earth for people in the city was limited, and so too was the enjoyment for using earth, that using earth brings.
The urban population's kind of disconnect with earth is no accident, but the result of policy. Over the last 400 years, 5,200 enclosure bills enacted by Parliament, which related to just over a fifth of the total area of England, dislocated people from land. And we kind of felt that through accessing earth and using it publicly in the park, we were kind of playing some small act of resistance out. Despite having earth, the site, and people to work with it, we still had more hurdles to jump through. One of the first obstacles we came to when running workshops was the aversion to earth which young people had developed, maybe as a result of being separated from it. Maybe they were used to clean, sterile spaces for creativity and play. Or maybe they had just been told it was dirty or hadn't been on a muddy walk. Many initially asked for plastic bags to touch it, or plastic gloves. And so the sticking plaster to this was going to a local corner shop and buying 100 plastic bags for students to put over their hands and shoes. The bags kind of worked to ease students into working with the material. And as the week progressed, less bags were used, and one student even mixed the cob with their bare feet, which we thought was a big success.
We also tried other ways to make the material more approachable for young people. So in Squeezy City, we were combining these earthen processes with food, a universally understood medium to translate this extrusion process to clay. Students built edible towers and bridges out of extruded pasta, sweets, and noodles, and we returned to food at the final event, serving up churros flavoured with the on-site ingredients from the Story Garden. The fusion of materials made working with earth more playful and helped to kind of break down these preconceptions. Accessible earth, so highlighting the different pathways. Recognizing we are not experts, we used both summer schools as an opportunity to invite practitioners involved with earth to run half-day workshops and collaborate with us.
So to introduce young people to the topic of earth, we wanted to present earth as something which was accessible through a variety of different angles, depending on individual interests. Young people need to see earth as a future pathway, which is versatile and requires a range of different skills, and understand different conceptual frameworks through which earth can be understood. It can be a medium which drives artistic practice, building, research, activism, or manufacturing. We explore the topics broadly, whilst occasionally looking into the technicalities of particular processes in more depth. But the core threads that we looked into on the summer schools are as follows. So construction, so we got Roland Keeble in to show us his molds and tools and teach the students, and also us, how to collaboratively mix cob and test the cob mix, and also construct architectural details using cob, and make earth bricks and strocks using the earth from below Hackney.
To help students imagining upscaling earth, we presented different building processes and visited H.G. Matthews and learned about large-scale processing and the manufacture of building materials. Jim gave us an amazing tour of the site, learning about the many modes of brick making done at their factory, including the test equipment for how you might sequester and lock carbon into chalk bricks, which was very exciting for us. Students loved watching the hand making and the 100-year-old berry press in action. To understand other ways earth can be reused, we were joined by Freya Bolton, who introduced metal as a material to hold extruded ceramic tiles. Freya shared her knowledge in how design with disassembly and deconstruction in mind can ensure the future usability and reuse of materials.
We then looked into modern fabrication techniques because a lot of young people use a lot of technology and are very interested in this kind of aspect. And we were joined by two graduates, Theo Tan and Dan Pope, who presented their research into 3D printed clay waste and how it could be used to insulate buildings and make bespoke bricks, insulated bricks, which the students really enjoyed. And we were also joined by someone from the Bartlett School of Architecture who presented their work on robotic cob construction. And we also wanted to show students model making. And so with the brief of a community space, we explained plan sections, elevations. We helped them to design 150 scale fragments from their ideas on essential elements of a community space. And students combined earth, wicker, wattle and daub style walls and 3D printed components, which introduced them to using earthen design from an architectural perspective. And yeah, some of the students really took to the process.
The design of a community space with materials instantly brings up the questions of placemaking and its relation to politics. Artist Shea Adelican ran a workshop in collaborative weaving using foraged weaves inspired by folkloric and political plant stories. She spoke about colonial language, value system, and the alienation of materials and plants within London. This became a deep dive into the political and social stories of materials within London and a conceptual lens through which we could look at our own Hackney clay. These workshops help students to speculate how clay might be applied in a city context for community spaces, beyond the technical applications of materials themselves. And then continuing on this theme, artist and ceramicist Sarah Fraser joined us for Squeezy City and shared her wealth of knowledge on how you might begin to process clay, fire it, make your own glazes from that same clay, and extruding it as well. So she helped to develop a Squeezy City glaze and dye designs inspired by the journey lines, object of interest, and some resident pigeons of Camden.
Finally, we also wanted to introduce students to places in London where they could work with clay in a community setting. We ran workshops with Story Garden and Rochester Square to show that peaceful places to make and collaborate exist, even in the centre of town. Following a visit to the brick factory in the morning, students were taught by Nadra, who ran a great brick-making workshop using the same H.G. Matthews clay in the afternoon. We wanted to place emphasis on earth as a social material with the ability to bring people together through its use. Through bringing together these different earth-related pathways, it became clear that earth meant something different to each discipline, and by now, maybe each student.
So, collaborative earth, lessons from the workshops.
Young people are a mixed bunch. Some loved making bricks, others were really excited by digital fabrication, and others probably decided it wasn't for them. Yet, there were undeniably magical moments when working with young people, and especially when using earth as a collaborative medium within London. There were interesting moments where students were completely captivated by the process and absorbed by the sensation of working with earth. This quiet focus was something that was nice to see. The polishing of Dorodangos at the start of each day became a way to facilitate morning conversations. This was unintentional and just happened some mornings as students entered and they just cracked on with quietly polishing. The repetition of movement and the subtle focus required occasionally encouraged a kind of meditative-like state. We found that this was the case at times with weaving and applying cob to structures. Like, some students had travelled across London during rush hour each morning to come to the workshop. And at times earth provided a quiet, peaceful moment which contrasted the rush hour atmosphere.
The construction technique, the material, the mess, and the production was a bit out of place. People watched and thought we were mad in the park. But beyond the kind of school learning or conventional school learning, and within a less hierarchical setting, students began to self-organise around the use of clay. Store summer schools always lead to a final event and they can invite their friends and family. So this manifested in the sharing of churros from the churros stand for Squeezy City and the Cob exhibit. Making a final object which had a function worked a lot better though, and created a dialogue between the students and the public to encourage discussions about the project. We were left with some key questions that we thought we would share. With Alien Earth, if Earth is alien to young people in the city, how can we reduce this disconnect?
With Accessible Earth, if Earth is inaccessible in the city, can we set up systems which make use of waste earth from construction sites for local projects, making London earthier?
Collaborative Earth, if Earth is a collaborative medium, what spaces can we provide for young people to come together and use Earth?
So we think these questions could point towards a specific earth-based education centre in London, which takes on waste earth and uses it to inspire the next generation of urban earth builders, makers and researchers.
That's it.
Thank you.